Fitness doesn't have to be complicated or intimidating. Let's talk about it. This show is for beginners. People stepping into the gym for the first time, sorting through the fad diets, wanting to feel stronger and healthier. Here is where we get down to the basics, the training, the nutrition, the recovery, and the mindset. Leading the way, NPC bodybuilding champion and seasoned coach here to guide us. His competition highlights include out of his last 10 shows, 2 runner-ups and 8 first place titles, along with a host of other accolades, placements, and accomplishments. And in his 50th year in the gym, training consistently, welcome and all aboard to the train with Barry show. Hello, Barry.
What's going on, Eric? How you doing? But I just
Show
realized
number. What's
when
that?
this popped up was I think I made a mistake when I sent over my makeup and hairstylist over here. Because look at that hair, man. You got that thing down to a science, and I'm out here on an island. I got nothing now.
Well, hey, some of us have better fitness and other of us have better follicles,
Yeah, that's a
right?
good point. Yeah,
So, you kind of have to choose.
can't have both, right?
You can't have, well, there's some people that do have both. And
Yeah,
I
you're right.
think
They
I,
do.
I I think both is probably possible. It just depends on your time or your money, one or the other.
But if I'm choosing hair or fitness, I'm going fitness. So I ain't gonna quite worry about that
Man,
all day.
I hear you. This is show number 8. It's Thanksgiving this week.
Yeah, man, big week for people. They need to. I read a quote I read this week. Remember to set your scales back 15 pounds Wednesday night at 1 a.m.
That's incredible. I had to
Just in
remember that one.
case. Yeah, that was pretty good. I got a laugh out of that.
Thanksgiving's
Yeah, it's
my favorite.
been a good week. I ran into, I'll tell you real quick, I ran into Rosemary last Sunday when I went to the game. She was working the front gate. And I mean, obviously, I somewhat recognized her, but I'm being truthful. I really wasn't 100% sure because I walked up, I was like, man, she really has. I said, I hope you see a change. And she took her pants and kind of pulled them. She said, I lost inches in my waist. But where I really noticed it and where most people would notice it from the get go is their face. And I mean, honestly, she looks 10 years younger, honestly, in the four or 5 weeks she's been doing it now, 4 weeks steadily. It's quite pretty cool. I just told her to keep it up. I believe she will, and probably even step it up a little bit.
And
So
what's Rosemary's age range again, if you don't mind me
I think
asking?
she said 66,
Really?
68, and it's amazing. Again, I've said this: muscle memory is amazing. It will come back. If you use it or lose it, but once you go back to doing it, especially from the get go, I think you see probably better. Um, this week, went back to a lady I used to listen to a little bit podcast, a lady named Stacy Sims. She's a professor and a scientist who she specifically deals with women, training women for the most part on exercise and nutrition. And she gets way more technical and in depth. We have the same mind, we'll say, probably the same mindset she talks about, which is that window of opportunity after you work out. She's a big advocate about that 45-minute window especially for women, maybe not so much for men, which I found interesting, but for women, it's about a 45-minute window to replenish and restore. Especially, she said protein. She's talking 40 to, for ladies over 40 to 50 grams of protein she should take in within 45 minutes after you're working out, due to the recovering and repairing the muscle and the stress that you put upon it is huge as far as not atrophying. So yeah, I found that to be quite interesting. And she talked further about some things that we'll talk about because I guess we've had a couple questions come in that I went back to listen to a couple things that I remember she talked about, and I wanted to kind of get caught up on that. But
Yeah, 40 to 50 grams of protein for
for
women
women,
within is that a 45-minute window after working out?
45 minutes after you train, and she wasn't as big an advocate about where I have been. I guess for me and men, it's a little different when it comes to carbs, replenishing and restoring your glycogen. She's more about the 100% making sure it's protein more than anything else. So, 40, 50 grams is not easy, obviously. There are some shakes out there you can get it from. She's bigger on food, obviously, but just finding things that you can do to find whatever that would be to accomplish that. And then if you're doing that, you're pretty much ahead of the game for the rest of the day if you're doing that earlier in the day because you're already 40 or 50 grams into your total probably of trying to get. She's a 1.1 to 1.3 grams per body weight per for women, where I've always talked about 1 gram. But again, I think 1 gram is kind of what Rosemary's doing from starting out new, working out. Um, I think 1 gram is fine. And then you always want to bump it as you go along. You never want to eat less. As I told her the other day, don't get, she's going to see the results which she has. She's fired up about it. But some people like to go the other direction, thinking if I train harder, train more, eat less, modify stuff that it actually turn it up a notch or add a couple more days of training, whatever the case. Just told her, follow what she's doing. If anything else, eat more. Definitely don't eat less. All you're going to do is continue to fuel your fireplace and burn more.
That's interesting. It's encouraging to know that even at that age that it's possible. You mentioned before that she's pretty motivated, and it's encouraging to see that. We had a couple of comments from Reg, who's been commenting on some of the shows. Have you seen those comments?
Yeah, well, actually, I called him yesterday morning because I was talking to him about something else. Want to talk to him about my follow up on my guy I told you about in Atlanta who had the stroke. He finally got moved to the Shepherd Center, and he called me 2 days ago, I want to say. So what I was most impressed with by him, first of all, again, he doesn't sound any different. The doctors told him he was out for 24 hours. So when he went down that night and they found him the next morning, 8 o'clock, that was 24 hours.
This is not Reg though, right? This
No,
is
no, no. But I wanted to tell Reg about that
oh,
as far
gotcha.
as
Okay, okay.
he was asking me about, just an update.
Yeah,
And just I was impressed again that he's so far the tests they've run on him have all come back positive, all excellent, which again, I don't know. As I was telling him, I don't know if that's less than one. I don't know what percentage that would be of people who are out 24 hours, mentality wise, or whatever, speech, whatever the case may be, that would definitely have an ill effect, especially, I guess, if you were somebody who wasn't in quite a good a shape. So I just thought that was pretty cool. That he sounds great. I don't know how long he's been in there, but he said first week they've done a little rehab stuff, but he's all itching to to ramp it up before he can do more and get out of there and get about his business. And yeah, for a guy 80 years old, it's pretty cool. He just
for
doesn't miss the
sure.
beat. Yeah.
I was
He,
mentioning that to Kimberly this weekend. The fact that you mentioned that I think on the last show or maybe the show before, episode 7 or 6, you mentioned that once since we're aging, once you have an injury like that, it's the recovery that tends to be the difficult part that people have trouble with, and that leads to more difficulties, which is just another reason to kind of stay on top of your fitness while you can.
yeah, I think there's no doubt about that as far as recovery. And like I said, the people that end up, I know a guy, I think we talked about him, Frank, who I loved and adored. He was 94 and he was working out. The guy was in the gym. He used to blow my mind with the workouts he did seriously in the gym at 94 years old. But he fell in the shower one day and they found him after a couple hours at the gym. And from that, started off in a wheelchair. And he was able to still do upper body workout stuff, but he never was able to get out of it. But again, he's 94 years old. But he lived till 101, something like that. Still did his rehab stuff, still did his weight training and stuff while he ended up going to his retirement home. But again, most people, again, I don't, majority of people would have been done on all levels, but it didn't, it did affect him just because that user lose it and never really be able to get back where he was walking enough. Kind of what Ben's going through now. Ben's been in bed basically for 4 weeks, laying in bed. So he struggles right now until he gets his rehab up to be able to start functioning back like his body will bounce back. So yeah, it makes a difference. You've already been there and done it.
For sure. Well, hey, Reg put a couple of comments in there. One of the ones that he posted, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on for the show here. What do you, Barry,
So
consider the best exercises for each body part? And is there such a thing? And what do you consider the worst or the least beneficial exercise for those body parts? And is there such a thing of that? And I think what he's getting at here is, I know there's tons of different workouts for all of the different body parts, and they mostly exist for um from what I understand, just to give you some variety and to hit different parts of the muscle. But is there a least effective or most effective for the most frequently used exercises?
I thought about that a little bit, and I'm always been an advocate, first of all, of dumbbell work, um, more so than machines. But then, as I was saying, doing a little bit of homework, I listen to Dr. Sims. They advocate both, obviously, but they advocated machines. Now, why I like dumbbells is because each arm has to do its individual work. So if you have one side weaker than the other, and you're on a machine, you never really realize it or expose it. I find that on like leg extension when I've been trying to get my legs back to where they were, and sometimes I'll do one-legged leg extension, and it's amazing how much weaker my right side is than my left side. I mean, I can run through 15 reps no problem on my left. My right's a struggle. But I would have never noticed that at all when I do regular leg extensions. It doesn't, what I mean? It's not apparent because you're just pulling them up together. But he is saying what I agree with what they're saying on machines is biomechanically, most machines are correct. You know what I mean? Makes you stay in the plane you want to be in, whatever the movement is, shoulder press, chest press, especially like side laterals, which I want to demonstrate in the weeks to come. People doing side laterals, you see them doing them hands up this way. They do them all kinds of different ways. But that machine has like these two little poles you hold on to. The pads go on your elbows, and it comes up like this, which is the correct way to do it.
So it
That would
kind of
treat you
forces the
exactly.
correct movement
So
and
I'm an
formation.
advocate of both. I do like dumbbells. I think people starting out, especially new, dumbbells are important, I think, because again, you're aware of the discrepancy as far as left or right side goes. But I would mix them. I think, and I've thought about this, like for someone like Rosemary or anybody starting out, I think 2 exercises for chest, 2 for back. Ideally, I would say incline dumbbell press would be a great first one, and then some kind of fly, flat fly, incline fly, doesn't matter, or a pec deck machine, the one that kind of comes out and you bring them together. Again, pec deck machine, as you do them, you'll see how wide and arcing they make you do. Dumbbells, you see people doing them all kinds of, they get weighed, try to, farther down they stretch, they think the more chest, the better they're getting. But at past that point of, which I can barely ever get there, you basically are involving shoulders from way back here just to get into where the chest engages. So I've always been taught, all I'm thinking about is elbows. How far can I spread my elbows out, leaving that natural arc in my arm? You don't want to get to where the hands are outside of your elbows, because when you go heavy, your shoulders are, you really got to protect your shoulders in a lot of the movements. So I would say an incline dumbbell press, a chest press machine, then some kind of fly would be great. Lat pull down is always a staple. Seated dumbbell, seated rows is another staple. That seated row where you're rowing would be 2 great. And they have machines. Most of the gyms I'm in have machines that do for rowing. So even those are better because, again, it makes you isolate for the plane that you need to be in and where you need to be. Shoulder presses are just shoulder press, pressing up. Dumbbells can be machine. I like the side lateral for getting a little separation and definition in your shoulders. And then tricep press down, bench dips. Again, bench dips are one of those things you got to watch what you're doing. The key to bench dips, just sliding off the bench, is you want to actually feel your shirt skimming the bench when you go down. Most people you'll see have their hands on the bench, and there's a space between their body and the bench as far. So now all your weight's in your front delt. If you're leaning back and you're trying to, as I say it, every time you come up on a dip, it's almost like you're trying to sit down again. And if you're pushing from that angle where you're trying to sit in the seat, man, the direct tension on your triceps is amazing. But I literally feel my shirt kind of skimming it as I go down. I don't want any space between the bench and my body.
That's an
And then
excellent tip.
preacher curl, dumbbell curl. And that's really it, 2 sets. Other thing I thought about, I had great success in the past. I don't do it as much probably as I should, but if I have a client that just doesn't have time to do cardio and not even big on cardio, I love the circuit training. So I love to walk in, have someone sit down, do 5 minutes of cardio, whatever it is they like, elliptical, treadmill, bike, doesn't matter. Whatever they enjoy. You're not going to do something you don't enjoy because you're not going to like doing it and you don't want to do it. But 5 minutes, you get off and you go do a circuit. You do an incline dumbbell press. You do a pull down. You do a shoulder press. You do a tricep press down. You do a curl, then get back on the treadmill.
So is that for one set and then you go back to the
One
treadmill?
set, go back to the treadmill. What happens with that, especially as we talked about in the past, where your heart rate is you're getting your heart rate up higher when you're doing weight training. Now you go to get on cardio, you're keeping it in that level, so you're fat burning the whole time. So if you go and do a second round of that, so now you already have done 5 minutes to start, you do a set, now 10 minutes, do a second set, 15 minutes, and then you do round 2, which would be my flies, my seated row, my side laterals, my dips, and then preacher curl or another kind of standing curl, and you do 3 more rounds. Now you've knocked out 30 minutes of cardio quicker than you probably would have done your other weight training program being preoccupied. It's always steadily moving. You're in the fat burning zone the whole time, so it's more efficient. I had probably a group of 6 ladies used to come be at lunchtime in Atlanta. They were preschool teachers from the church across the street, all out of shape, all mid-50s, whatever, all of them. It was a pretty cool story, very moving for me. The accolades or the story, the little letters they sent me after the fact and pictures of them from where they started to where they were. Very cool. So it's very effective. It's also very effective if you want somebody where you don't even really notice the cardio. It's 5 minutes. It's not like you're on there 30 minutes. It's not the, you're only on, all I got to do is 5 minutes, you get off, you go do your weights, get back on 5 minutes. So when you're breaking it up like that, but you're also fat burning, staying in your fat burning zone the whole time, it's very effective, very effective.
Are you adding a cool down in between those, or are you just going straight one to the other?
One to the other. So I go set up flies right into my seated row, right into my side lateral, right over to the press down, right over to my curl, right back on cardio. So you're going the whole time.
So let me just understand. So after your 5 minutes of cardio, you're doing a set of each of the different exercises, and
Exactly.
then your 5 minutes of cardio again?
Exactly.
I
So
see. Okay.
you're getting all 4 rounds of chest, back, shoulders, and arms. But in the meantime, you've also got in 30 minutes of cardio without really even realizing it in a sense. You know what I mean? Same type thing, though. You're still trying to, over time, it shouldn't be that same workout, every week in and week out. Same. If it's on level 5 on the bike, I would go to level 6. Then I go to level 7. I do the same thing on my cardio, where I used to get on bicycle and I'd be at level 6. Now I'm up to I'm at level 12 or 14. I'm always trying to bump, within reason as you go along. And that Dr. Sims lady, if you ever pull her up and listen to her, anybody who's out there, she big advocate, especially for women over 40, the importance of lifting heavier. She's a big advocate of 6 to 8 reps, 10 reps for women, especially over 40, because it's harder to put on muscle when you're in your 20s and 30s. She's more about the HIIT type workout or the faster circuit type stuff, maybe even heavier lifting as far as the squats and deadlifts. But as you get older, which I agree with, as I've always promoted for women, of just training heavy. Because
I wrote down her name, Dr. Sims. What was her first name there?
Stacy Sims.
Stacy. Okay.
Yeah, pull it up, you'll be able to see. She's good. I listened to about a 2.5-hour podcast of hers last night that I have had listened to before. It's very, again, what I love about this, number one, is we talked about before we came on, which was, if our goal was to help anybody, then we would achieve our goal and we could be done, because Rosemary is well on her way to being a new and improved, and as well as Reg.
As well as Reg, he asked another question here that I thought was a good one too. He pointed out that you mentioned in one of the previous shows that you like to mix amino acid and creatine in your water when you work out. Can you explain for people what the benefits of the amino acids and the creatine? Why should someone consider using those products, and what quantity should someone use? And when should people be taking? Is that pre-workout? Is that during the workout or post-workout? He brings up a good point on a little more clarity with that, and a question that I had myself.
Um, the well, first of all, it's creatine is. I'm a huge fan of that. Um, Even if you listen to, again, this Dr. Stacy, she is a huge advocate for women as well as men, more so for women to take creatine. Now, one thing I did like about that, I went back, I remembered her talking about, and I remember my ex-wife calling me a while back and wanted to know what's a good creatine to take. And it was after I heard this podcast, and I told her she's an advocate of, it's a German creatine. It's the purest form of protein that you can take. And it's actually, and I Googled it, I looked it up on Amazon. I ordered it when I heard that months and months ago. I took it. Because it's, so I've heard people say it makes them bloated. Their stomach doesn't do well with it, makes them hold water. And as I studied that, interesting enough, what I found was they either wash the creatine in acid or they wash it in water. And when they're washing it in acid, it's not a pure form of creatine, which makes your body bloat and also makes you a little nauseous when you take it. Where when you wash it in water, it's the purest source you can take. And it's the purest of all as far as the quality of it goes. There's different qualities in every product you can probably take, especially when it comes to protein, creatine, whatever, or even aminos for that matter. So that kind of got me back on target. There's a company called, if you look it up, Fitness Labs, makes a German creatine. I think it's 100 servings for like $35 on Amazon. So if you're going to take it, and it talks about 3 to 5 grams that you want to take of, I think most likely, most of the scoops that I've ever seen are 5-gram scoops. But so you could probably cut that a little bit, not quite less than half. Interesting enough, I've always taken 5 grams of creatine, and I've been taking creatine for 35 years. I don't even know. But I was reading some articles recently that people are talking about how some people are taking even 10 to 15 grams. 15 might be a little bit on the higher side. So I've now increased mine to 10. As long as I do, just like I do training and everything else, I think you got to modify. So the biggest thing I can tell you I got off of creatine when I started was I literally knew, which is what it talks about it does. It's a natural occurring, let me just read from what, natural occurring compound found in your muscle cells. So it fuels your muscles to help you with greater bursts of energy and performing the physical activity. So I used to know when I first ever got on it, where I maybe get to 8 or 9 and hit a wall, I could actually do 10, 11, and 12. So the ATP would actually help you as far as your endurance goes. So it actually has, it's made up of 3 aminos, arginine, glycine, and methionine. So it already has aminos. It's made up of aminos. So now when I do it with my aminos, which is I use for restoring and replenishing and rehydrating my workout, and that's the main reason I use my aminos. So I just mix them both together because they blend. Most creatines you get don't have a flavor or taste. Some do, but you can get them plain. So I just mix it in a product that I use called Extend. So it's just XTEND. They come in amazing. They probably come in 10 different flavors. Like right now, I'm doing a Mango Madness. I just ordered one called Blood Orange, which is probably my most favorite as far as just a really good orange flavored aminos. But that's like a treat to me. So I do that as so it talked about as far as we get older, we we have less strength and less mass. So that's why the creatine is important. So that condition of our sarcopenia, creatine helps slow this process by promoting muscle growth.
Would you say creatine is something that people should take even if they aren't working out regularly, or is this something to supplement and
She
add to
does.
a regular workout?
She does because again, the process again, what I just talked about, which is that sarcopenia, which is where your body deteriorates muscle. This helps slow that process. So whether you're working out or not, it's still going to help the properties in there, the aminos in there are going to help you from doing that. So yeah, it doesn't. But it also talked about where it helps easier to perform physical activities. Doesn't have to be weight training. Could be playing tennis. Could be any physical activity you're doing, golf or whatever. That's going to help you extend and have more energy to push through that.
Or even your regular workout?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, more so. That's what I use it for. But it does have it can be used for other, as you say. It doesn't have to be just someone who's in the weight room.
So, with that in mind, how does training change as we get older, and or how should it not change? Really, is what I want to ask.
It shouldn't change in the sense that you think because, and she talks again about this, the women, there's so much noise out there about the negative or what it can do. But what it doesn't change is the fact that it's the only way, again, as I've said over and over again, that you can keep your atrophying muscle. We're going to atrophy it anyway, just as in life goes. So it's inevitable as you get older, especially after 40, it drops a lot. It could be 3 to 5% of muscle that you lose every year. You can't flip that unless you're doing progressive resistance exercise to keep from losing muscle. So again, as you deteriorate, Ben would be a good example of somebody, if you saw him at 80, or especially nowadays, people in the shape that they're in, who train in their 70s, 80s, 90s that are that fit, because it doesn't go away. It doesn't. If you built the foundation and build up, or even someone like Rosemary who's just starting out, the sky's the limit for her, or what her potential is, and what her it's just getting down the food, like Reg was telling me yesterday, and we talked on the phone yesterday morning. Again, this is probably the best run he's ever had as far as his nutrition goes, staying on point, which he sees obviously a difference in the gym, but he also sees a difference in his waist and his love handles, where they're coming down as fast as he would like to. No, but you know what? It is a process. It's a slow process. It just takes a little while to help burn that fat off. But in the meantime, he's putting on more muscle, and that's why, as he asked about last week, why the scale hasn't gone down as much, because he's going to put on. Most people starting out will put on 3 to 5 pounds of muscle at the beginning. So
You
as
should
I've said
expect your
before,
scale to
it's going to
increase
go
then.
up. I promise you, in the first 4 or 6 weeks, it'll go up. But I tell people all the time, all you want to know is, like Rosemary said, she don't even weigh. She don't even get on the scale. You know what she cares about is doing this with her pants, and there's room that she didn't have before, and you can definitely see it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter really what the scale says. If you've went from 35% body fat down to 20 or 15, at the end of the day, you just more lean, more tight, more hard,
Right, right. But that's
Um,
that's the that's the psych out, because people, initially they want to lose weight, and then if you're weight training correctly, you're going to see the scale go the opposite way, and that's going to be quite discouraging for a lot of people. It kind of led me to think about maybe the differences, or what actually separates people that succeed from the ones who quit.
I would think the disappointment or it just doesn't work for me kind of mentality, but you got to make sure that you're, I mean, first of all, give it an honest try. You know what I mean? And as she talked about, and I agree, most people are comfortable because she deals with strictly, for the most part, women. She'll say, like, you go to the gym today, and it's true, if you go into any box gym, and I see them when they're touring people around, they're showing them the boxing class, they're showing them the circuit class, They're showing them the cardio equipment. They're showing them the spin room. Don't really do a whole lot in the weight area. Show them where this is. But that's kind of what they show women because they think in their mind that's what they're trying to do. I'm going to burn fat, so I want to do what can I do cardio wise? Where if you have a guy come in, they're taking them over there, showing them all the heavy equipment, all the stuff they have, and that's kind of a mistake because they should be encouraging women first and foremost to do the weight training. Because again, as we talked about last week, fat is fat, muscle is muscle. You can't, you're not going to weight train and turn your fat into muscle, nor are you going to turn your muscle into fat. You might gain one, lose the other, but you can't do one to the other because they're two different, identities on its own. So I think most people, again, what I find is just where they just come really consistent at the beginning, whatever it is they're doing. But again, most of the time, again, it's not having a method to your madness. There's a lot, as she also talked about, and I agree, not everybody, as we talked about before, can afford a trainer, but there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of people out there that are on the right track.
That's why this show exists, right?
Yeah, and you got to look at reviews. You got to look at testimonials, not just trying to where they sell you something, but where they actually want to try to help somebody, see a difference or change in what it is they're doing. And so there's a lot out there. You got to just kind of go in with some kind of plan of what you're wanting to do, not just, as I see a lot, and I see it every week, walking around, something looks familiar to you, you sit down on it, you do it. Whether it be in proper form, whatever it be. And then she also talked about that as far as the machines. It's not just about you doing a set and then someone else sitting down doing a set after you and is too embarrassed or doesn't really know how to adjust the seat or the pins or anything. So they're probably already out of where they should be or not doing it properly just because their seat's too low, seat's too high. It's really trying to find, read the little instruction. It pretty much tells you how everything should line up. And just take the time to do it. Just, slow down a little bit and just get the best out of what you're trying to do at everything you're trying to do.
Well, I can tell you that, sometimes you underestimate the importance of that seat placement and to your form, to the correct form and how that can affect
Sure.
injury or results. But let me ask you this. What's one thing that you want viewers to remember or get out of today's show?
I think again, supplementation. Well, too, I think supplementation is huge. I think you can't not go wrong with getting on a good amino acid and a creatine. Just as far as if you're ready, you want to get the best bang for your buck as far as seeing additional change and helping you kind of get what I'd call getting there a little bit faster. Would be number one. And again, I think as it is every week, again, just being conscious about not being afraid to take the weight up. Not just, again, she talks about a 2-rep kind of thing. So she'd like, if you're doing 10 reps, you maybe have 2 left in you, which is fine. But you shouldn't have 10 left in you or 8 left in you. I saw a girl laying down yesterday. She didn't use the bench. She was doing the floor on a mat. I guess nothing wrong with that, where she was doing dumbbells where her arms hit the floor and she comes back up. Like I must have counted. She did like 18 this way and then put them in here and did another 30 reps. And then she put the dumbbells down. She had more in her, but again, should have never got to 30 to begin with. But the mentality is most people think more reps, lighter weight equals leaning out and getting more toned. And you're just not getting enough muscle fiber involved to be able to lean out and get more toned. You just can't.
Understandable. Understandable. Well,
Yes, that
Barry,
would be huge.
the producer man is flashing the light at us.
Oh man, I had a couple big words I wanted to use, Dave. We got to save them until next week.
You're gonna have to save them till next week. I think we should kind of wrap this one up. Now, if you enjoyed this video, if you found some value out of this video, a free way that you can support the show is by hitting the like button. It really helps out the channel. Also, clicking the subscribe button and the notification bell is completely free as well, and will notify you when we post another show. And of course, share your thoughts and questions down in the comments. We love reading what you have to say. And how can people reach out to you, Barry?
Well, I think it's that big sign you put up behind you, Train with Barry. I think it's on have a Facebook page, but I guess, and they also just comment on the video itself that they're watching on YouTube. Correct? I think that's how
That's right.
Rosemary's done it, and Reg has done it. So yeah, don't be afraid to any question you might have or want to know something about. Us, jump out, put it out there, and we'd love to. So that's what makes the show even more enjoyable.
That's
Is
right.
being able to know that people are listening. Number one, but that we can answer whatever questions they might have.
Leave a comment. We'll read them. And also in the description of this video, there's a link to Barry's Facebook page. You can click that and send him a direct message right there. Until next time, thank you, Barry. Say goodbye,
Happy
Barry.
Thanksgiving, man. Be
Happy
careful.
Thanksgiving.
All
Hey, my
right.
favorite.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Bye now.